Flipping the pyramid. Flipping the pyramid. Flipping the pyramid. www.flippingthepyramid.co.uk.
Well, good evening and welcome to the show. Hope everybody can hear me loud and clear in the chat. I know you heard the music before. Just give me a L and C that you can actually hear me voice, and I'll crack on as usual. Welcome along. This is the reality check with Bluebus, and it's the 18th of June 2012, and yes, we've had lots going on this last 7 days. I haven't been around for a few days. I've been busy, preoccupied, doing other stuff, so I haven't been online for about 3 or 4 days, maybe a bit longer. But I'm here for the show, as always, and welcome along everybody in the chat. Hope you're doing okay. Welcome along to Keelan as well. I think Keelan's in the chat. I saw him before. So, hiya, Keelan. How you doing, guy? So, nice to see you, hear you, whatever. And yeah, it's been a busy 7 days, really. Been going through some of the usual stuff we've been seeing around in the mainstream media today. Cameron doing his G20 speech. I caught a little bit of that while I was busy cooking my tea this evening. I had that on the radio. They've played a little bit of it, and the usual sucking up to the the business leaders, and come to Britain, it's a great place to do business. He was foaming at the mouth, saying how wonderful everything is, and if only they knew, but they know anyway. But that was one thing I caught before, and we've also got basically the results from Greece. The vote they had on Sunday, the counts have been done, and it looks like, to me anyway, nothing has really changed. Got a quick had a quick look at some links before, just to get some sort of bit more of a handle on it and what's been going on. In the activist post today, there was a good little story there, which basically points out what we've been saying for quite a while now, these last sort of 6-8 months, while Greece has been, well, probably a year now. Greece has been in this austerity. We've seen people on the street. We've seen constant panic mode in the Eurozone going on, and this election was apparently to decide if Greece was to remain in the Euro, and it looks like the ruling party, or one of the ruling parties anyway, have the New Democracy Party, it is, I think it's called, have around about 130 seats in the 300-seat parliament, and basically you just don't know where this is going to go, because if they try and get back in or try and negotiate any kind of monetary system for Greece now, I mean, to me, it's just completely gone. It's completely gone. And looking into the way in which all of this is just played out through these farcical elections, which are really, listening to some people on the ground, it's just a puppet show again, just for more problems to just arise out of this already problematic situation that's been going on for about a year. So it's not going to get any better for the Greeks. If anything, it could get dramatically worse, and we've just seen it, like I say, just play out as we've been talking these last sort of 12 months about this. And don't forget, Spain and Italy are rapidly, going downhill as well. And all of these countries are teetering on the brink, as I said last week, in my show, and I also said it last year as well. But teetering on the brink, we have Spain and Italy. And we saw Spain last week get their £100 billion bailout, and as I thought there was going to be strings attached, which, even though the news story last week said there wouldn't be any strings attached to this £100 billion euro bailout for Spain, it now transpires that there are conditions going to be attached to this loan. So the Spanish are going to be plunged into some more austerity measures and tax increases, etc., as we've seen, in this country as well, and lots of other European countries, which are all beginning to feel the pinch. Now, it's amazing to think, if anything happens with these bailouts, we all know where the money's coming from. It's coming from us. It's coming from other European nations, and it's just got to the point now where everybody's being squeezed, and the whole thing really is in turmoil, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse by the day. And the longer it goes on, well, the more people are going to get more and more upset, and we're just going to see more and more people out on the streets giving their disagreements, waving their banners, etc. But is it actually going to change anything? It's been going on so long now. It just becomes a little bit of a joke. But right now, the ingredients, it says here, are for a perfect storm, which is going to develop in Europe. The government spending is being slashed all across the continent. ECB monetary policy is very tight. New regulations and deteriorating economic conditions are causing major banks to cut back on lending, and there is panic in the air. Tell us something we don't know. Tell us something that, this is, like I say, it's been going on for a while, and it's only in the last few weeks that the mainstream media have actually admitted that there's a major, major problem, because the last sort of, year or so, they've been just, papering over it, so to speak, and not really giving the true depth of the problems that are happening. People can feel it, people can feel it in the UK, people feel it in France, they feel it all over Europe. They feel these economic problems in their everyday lives, in their normal spending, what they have as their disposable income, what they've got left, what they can afford to do, what they can afford to buy, etc., and what they actually need. And they're seeing that shrinking day by day as these. I mean, we haven't seen nothing yet. This is my worry. I think we haven't seen nothing yet. We were just in this sort of, if you like, at the admittance stage of it, where people are beginning to sort of finally realise that things are going wrong. Things are in a bad, bad way. And there's not much coming from our so-called leaders to, come up with something that is going to get us out of this mess. And I don't think they've got any idea whatsoever. They're just going to be, getting as much as they can, stockpiling their little assets, and they'll be okay, but screw the rest of us. But yes, it's been going on, like I say, for quite a while, and we've got other countries literally just queuing up now to go the same way as Greece. But with this so-called this so-called vote they had in Greece to bring in the new government, just another tactic, I think, just to delay the inevitable, which is basically Greece is just basically already collapsed, and it's just a matter of time now before the euro finally does go down the Swanee. Where that leaves us, well, who knows? Who knows where that leaves us? I mean, we're already in a mess. Our economy in this country, in the UK, is not in good shape. We're trillions of pounds in debt. We all know the reasons for that. We all know the banks have, quite nicely sort of stacked up their nice little piles of money, and they're doing quite nicely. But the rest of us, unfortunately, are left to pick up the pieces and pay for all this interest. This interest, what is this interest? I have no interest in this. Or is it in my interests? Interest. It's like, it's illegal. What is it? Not even illegal. It doesn't exist. It's just nothing. Just as much as these quantitative easing measures that they bring out every few months, just to sort of, put a sticking plaster over a massive wound that will, supposedly like keep us going for next few months, or the next 6 months or so, to keep us nicely. Okay, we've pumped in another, 100 billion, but where is it? We don't see any of this money. Where does it go? It just goes to the bank. The banks get the money, and they do what they like. They divvy it up amongst themselves, and we get absolutely nothing. And this will just carry on, and we just read the same stories to say that, it's got worse. Oh, it's got slightly better, and it's got worse. And then we had Cameron talking in the G20 speech before. Forgets to mention the double dip recession the UK's in, and like I say, most of Europe now, and in the States as well. It's not just in Europe. This problem's happening. It's happening right across the globe. And there is Cameron speaking as usual with his little, his nice little smart little, way he delivers it, and it's quite sickening, really. People are believing this shit and continuing to think everything is okay because these guys know what they're doing. Believe you me, they have no idea. They can't stop it, and it literally is just going to pop. And we've been saying it again. I thought at the end of last year we'd see a complete crash of the euro, but they seem to be dragging it out, and it's like a slow death. It's the death rattle of the euro, is what I like to think of it as. We've seen the last sort of desperate breaths of this failing economy, and in a way it's a good thing, because I always think the euro and the way it's been set up, especially the actual monetary side of things, was to get this one currency type thing, get everybody to accept it, get everybody to use it, and be part of what they accept as their reality, and then they can then merge currencies from the other side of the world to Europe, etc., and have one currency in the end. It's a slow step forward to just getting one currency, and then eventually a cashless society, which is what they've been pushing now for quite some time, but in little small steps, just to get us used to not using cash anymore. So we literally become completely under their power, complete slaves to the system. If there's no cash, or it's just a cashless system, then we are utterly screwed, really. So they're trying to push these things through in a very slow, methodical way. And like I say, there is no. I think these guys just don't. We always like to put time frames to things, to think, if something's happening, it's going to happen. But don't forget, these guys own the game, and they've got all of the time, and they can do their quantitative easing specials when they feel like they're going to, give us something back, and someone raises an eyebrow and says we haven't got enough money, or so let's do some more quantitative easing and let's squeeze another 100 billion or whatever it is into the system, and that's supposed to appease us and make us think everything is going along nicely. But when we know full well the whole system is just on, like I say, in the death rattle stages. And it'll be interesting to see how the next week or two, and especially with Greece, because I think the people of Greece are feeling pretty, this is on the ground, are feeling pretty peeved with the way things have worked out, because they've just voted in exactly what they had before. There's going to be no difference to them, and I think they'll feel cheated, and hopefully it doesn't get too rowdy over there again. But you can see where that the spin and the propaganda from the mainstream is that the elections have taken place, it's all good, and they're going to try and now save themselves and get back into the euro. It's not going to happen. And we'll just see how this story goes on, and how Greece hopefully can manage to pull themselves out of it and go with a completely new system. Maybe have a look at Iceland and countries like that who've managed to drag themselves out of the brink of bankruptcy, and are now living, they've basically got a much better system going, and they've had to rethink, think outside of the box. People are thinking inside this normal system. This is the system that has never worked, will never ever work, and will continue to fail the people. And we just continue to look at the same problem, if you like. We're just looking at the same issue, and we're not looking further afield of what we can do. Do we, what roles are the banks playing? Why aren't people asking the questions? People are asking the questions, but unfortunately they're not getting heard. We're just listening to the likes of the Camerons and the Merkels and the who's the new French president now, Hollande or whatever his name is. We're listening to these so-called people who've been elected by us under some sort of nonsense of a democracy, and to feel like we've got some kind of say in it, or they're representing us. And it's like I say, we've got a lot of people in positions of power who are corrupt, criminal, and should never ever have been put there in the first place. But if they were good, honest, and truthful, they'd have probably been shot by now. But that's how it goes. That's politics for you. And like I say, politics and this whole system is completely wrong. And on Flipping the Pyramid, this is what we're here to do. We're here to, get the truth out there, get people to understand exactly what's going on. And if you're new to the site, or you know anybody who's sort of similar thinking, direct them to the site. And there's plenty of information there that will certainly open their eyes, and all backed by good research. And just as I've always said in these shows, what resonates with you, something's wrong, something needs to change. And the stuff you're listening out of two news agencies, the BBC and Reuters, that's it. That's our choice of our news. And it's diluted down to Sky or whatever it is, or the news agencies, but that's our two main sources of information, Reuters and the Beeb. That is it. So, when you look into who controls those two news organisations, and that will tell you all. They've got links to the Crown. There's all sorts of agendas being played out and manipulation being carried out by these, news bodies, and they want to sell you their form of reality, their reality, and this is what's going on, and this is the truth. And we know full well that this is all just a smokescreen for them to get away, literally, with murder. As we expand out, into what's going on in the Middle East, and how everything's been developing in those parts of the world these last sort of year or so. So, like I say, it's been, like I say, a busy week, and there's been lots of other stuff going on as well, which, if I just manage to find something here. Yes, it's been a mad week for me, been up to all sorts, but I'll tell you all about that later, not in this show, but, and there was a couple of other things I wanted to talk about. I've lost my link now. The whole thing, like I say, this is roundabout, all about austerity. To be honest with you, it's been all over the news, and it's beginning to, I don't know, get on my nerves just a little bit, I think. And I'm getting to the point where, if I hear any more European leaders, any more of these liars and these bullshitters talk any more about, what they're trying to do to, make the situation better, I think I'll just, I don't know, vomit or something, or fall asleep. It's getting to the point where you can't believe anything anymore which comes out of these guys' mouths. Nothing. It's all complete bollocks, the whole lot. And when you just dig a bit deeper and you look a bit further, you'll find that you'll get some good, clear information. And an interesting thing I did see was about how people as well, how organisations and the press, etc., how they suppress. There's 17 techniques apparently for truth suppression, and there's a little article here which, if I can find the link, I'll stick in, and it's basically 17 techniques for truth suppression. It says the first one, and it goes into some detail this, but it says dummy up. If it's not reported, it's not news, and it didn't happen. So people who say to people, oh, did you read this? Well, it wasn't in the news. It's obviously mainstream, so that's one way of doing it. Another one is wax indignant. This is also known as the how dare you gambit. How dare you say that? How dare you? Suppress that. We can't have that. The other one is characterize the charges as rumours, or better yet, wild rumours. If in spite of the news blackout, the public is still able to learn about the suspicious facts, it can only be through rumours. If they tend to believe the rumours, it must be because they are simply paranoid or hysterical. Another good technique. Knock down strawmen. It says deal only with the weakest aspects of the weakest charges. Even better, create your own strawman. Make up wild rumours or plant false stories and give them lead play when you appear to debunk all the charges, real and fanciful alike. Very clever stuff. It says call the skeptics names like conspiracy theorists, nutcases, ranter, cook, crackpot, and of course rumour mongerer. Be sure too to use heavily loaded verbs and adjectives when characterizing their charges and defending the more reasonable government and its defenders. You must then carefully avoid fair and open debate with any of the people you have thus maligned. For insurance, set up your own skeptics to shoot down. It says, impugn motives. It says, attempt to marginalise the critics by suggesting strongly that they are not really interested in the truth, but are simply pursuing a partisan political agenda or about to make money, compared to overcompensated adherents to the government line who presumably are not. Invoke authority. Here the controlled press and the sham opposition can be very useful. It says here as well, dismiss the charges as old news. That's an interesting one, because like old news, when you mention anything to anybody, regarding, I don't know, could be to do with anything, chemtrails or whatever, something that's been around for a few years, where people just, it's just old news, it's been going on years, and it's another way that they, try and dismiss people who come out with any sort of truth. And this is an interesting one. It says, come half clean. It says, this is also known as confession and avoidance, or taking the limited hangout route. It says, this way you create the impression of candour and honesty while you admit only to relatively harmless, less than criminal mistakes. This stratagem often requires the embrace of a fallback position quite different from the one originally taken. When effective damage control, the fallback position need only be peddled by stooge skeptics to carefully limited markets. And the next one says, characterize the crimes as possibly complex and the truth as ultimately unknowable. So you make it so complex, so difficult, so like they do very well. They throw a lot of things up there, and people just become literally confused, too complex. So basically the upshot is, well, we don't really know. There is no answer, but let's carry on anyway in down this road, and we'll be fine. Another one, it says, reason backward, using the deductive method with a vengeance. It says, with thoroughly rigorous deduction, troublesome evidence is irrelevant. Example, we have a completely free press. If evidence exists that the Vince Foster suicide note was forged, they would have reported it. This is obviously another story. They haven't reported it, so there is no such evidence. Another variation on this theme involves the likelihood of a conspiracy leaker and a press who would report the leak. So, interesting ways that they can juggle around and, turn it into their advantage. It says, require the skeptics to solve the crime completely. So they say, if this guy was murdered, who did it and why? Again, taking away the fact that, somebody's lied originally, or something was faked. So they sort of use these techniques to, and you see this in mainstream media all of the time. It says, change the subject. It says, this technique includes creating and or publicizing distractions. And it says, lightly report incriminating facts and then make nothing of them. This is sometimes referred to as a bump and run reporting. And 15, badly and brazenly lie. It says, a favourite way of doing this is to attribute the facts furnished the public to a plausible sounding but anonymous source. Yes, they like using the anonymous source, don't they? There's a source says something, somebody said, and this is all in the mainstream. This is journalists. These are professional paid journalists who apparently, it's what they do. It's a vocation, I suppose, a journalist, isn't it? It's like a teacher, and they use these techniques to basically. They're saying they know some information, but and it's quite, it would be very maybe eye-opening or shocking, or it can get people to think a certain way, and it's all from an anonymous source. So most of this is used just to get you to think their way and to propagandize you. It says, expanding further on numbers, well, the 4 and 5 I mentioned before. It says, have your own stooges, expose scandals and champion popular causes. Their job is to preempt real opponents and to play 99-yard football, it says here. A variation is to pay rich people for the job who will pretend to spend their own money. And finally it says, flood the internet with agents. There's plenty of them around, I'm pretty sure. Flood the internet with agents. This is the answer to the question. What could possibly motivate a person to spend hour upon hour on internet news groups defending the government and all the press and harassing genuine critics? Don't the authorities have defenders enough in all their newspapers, magazines, radio and television? One would think refusing to print critical letters and screening out serious callers or dumping them from radio talk shows would be control enough, but obviously it is not. You see, it's a very, I mean, we're in this stage now, aren't we? We're in this, all of us, I think, you know, everyone listening to this, you know, we've all been, you know, like I say, I've been sort of looking into this and doing various things since 2003. And I've seen all of these things played out in the mainstream media, how they will try every single technique to destroy, you know, what you're saying and debunk you. And we've seen that happen many times. We've seen it happen here. I think Travis had a who used to do a show on another station. That's I'll remain nameless. And he was basically made to look a fool, really, by mentioning chemtrails, and was on one of the, I think, one of the American news stations out in the States there. But that's just one example. But there's many, many others where people will say something or be unhappy with something, and the other technique they use, and I heard it today on the radio, I heard them actually use this technique where the guys on the radio talking about, you know, Greece, austerity measures, the election results, etc. And the guy from the radio station, can't remember his name now, the guy who's the journalist asking the questions, was making it sound like, you know, this is awful, this is terrible, what are we going to do about it? You know, the Greeks can't afford to pay this debt, the Greeks can't do this, what are we going to do? And he had another guy, I think he was a German politician, I didn't catch his name, but he was very much like saying, they've got themselves into this trouble, they have to get out. And it's like, oh yes, okay. So you can see how they work. They'll do with one, but then the answer that comes back is always, it's the same. This has to carry on. This cannot change. These people have to pay this money back. This is what they've got themselves into. It is their fault. It's blaming the people, and it's a disgrace when it's the banks and the governments and the corruption that's taking place and continues to take place, is the cause of it all. That's why it's happened. It's not the people's fault. It's not us. You know, it's not the people in the UK who screwed up all the banks, or the people of Greece who, you know, managed to spend all their money and go crazy. No, it was the banks. It was their economy, their banks. They have been taking money off the people, and we're just expected to pay for all their mistakes. And you know, like I say, it's not just Greece, it's over here as well. We seem to have been very quiet in the UK regarding austerity and the trillions of pounds that this country's in debt, up to its eyeballs in, and we continue never to sort of really speak out about it. And you know, we've not got any, and I've said this many times as well, we haven't got any decent sort of platform in mainstream, which I don't think will ever happen, because they will use these techniques I've just mentioned for truth suppression. They will turn it into a circus, they will turn it into a laugh, they will turn it into a joke. We saw this with the 9/11 thing last August. We saw how powerful the edit is, the power of editing, the power of, you know, making something, basically making things up, switching people's words around. Yes, it is words that you've spoken, but not in the order that they've put them in, and the way that they've actually angled the story. So it's very difficult. In fact, it's impossible to get the truth out through mainstream media, I think. I did see a funny story before about someone's trying to get David Icke onto Question Time. I don't know if anybody saw that. Apparently there's some sort of you know, petition going around where you can sign, and you know, they want to get him onto Question Time, and it's just like, come on. I mean, if the guy goes on there, if he does actually go on there, that would just say everything, won't it, really? Because you will never get a fair hearing, or you will never be able to put your side across without them using the techniques I've mentioned, without them, you know, ridiculing you. If it's not reported, it didn't happen, so we haven't spoke about this, so it didn't happen. Even though it is in, you know, it is researchable information, and it's documented, even though because the mainstream media haven't said it, or Reuters didn't release it, or the BBC, it's not true, or it doesn't exist. Come on, people, wake up. Go and find out for yourselves. We say this a lot here. Find out for yourselves. Go and look at something else. Go and, just do some history. Just do some basic historical digging, and find out where, what the reality is, not just their version of the reality that they're trying to sell to you. So it just goes on and on and on. So, but there we are, and that's half an hour gone already. My goodness. Anyway, like I say, welcome to the show anyway. I've already said that, but I'm going to have a little break now. You're listening to Bluebus on the Reality Check, and this is Flipping the Pyramid. And I'll play a tune, and I will be back in a jiffy. So give me a sec, just find something here, and speak to you in a bit. Hi, welcome back. So I caught me out that. I thought it was a longer song than that. Hopefully I've stopped it. There we go. It's stopped now. So hopefully you can hear me. Welcome back. This is the Reality Check. It's Bluebus. It's Monday evening. It's coming up to 20 to 9. I'm here till 9 o'clock ish, if I can get everything out between now and then. 20 minutes. We'll see. We'll keep going. One story I wanted to mention was just another example of how we're being, if you like, controlled, curtailed, monitored, watched, our rights taken away. This is a story that comes out, it's a local story actually near me, not far away, a place called Bangor, which is about 40 miles up the coast here. It's a university town, and there's a government minister last night voiced concerns about a controversial police ban on children under 16 being in the city centre between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. I don't know if anyone's seen this story, but it says the dispersal order at Bangor comes into force tonight, which is tonight, June the 18th, and the dispersal order basically comes at 6 months, but civil liberties campaigners have likened it to something that would happen under North Korean regime. It says Wales Office Minister David Jones says, I'm a bit concerned given on the face of it, it's discriminating against a large section of the public. It says, I will be having my regular meeting with my Chief Constable Mark Polin in the next few days and will raise the issue with him. It says, police say the ban is part of a multi-agency Gwynedd Community Safety Partnership idea to improve the lives of the local community and visitors to the city by issuing a dispersal order to tackle antisocial behaviour. It includes all parks and public areas and 24 streets. However, the Children's Commissioner for Wales, Keith Towler, called a blanket ban heavy-handed, adding that the move spreads the misconception that all young people are troublemakers. It says Big Brother Watch said, to say that any under 16-year-old who is unaccompanied between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. is a criminal is the kind of draconian law you'd expect in North Korea, not North Wales. Last night, a Facebook Stop the Curfew in Bangor site had attracted 956 members. And I've seen a couple of links for that on, across other sites as well to this story. And it happens in Rill to a degree as well, which is my local town here, which is only a few miles up the road. And they ban alcohol, etc. I know they do that in some city centres, but to actually put a curfew between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. to anyone under 16, and if you're found out, you will be, arrested, or you will be taken away, either back to your parents or whatever it is. But it's another form of people complaining about maybe a few kids out on the street, whatever. You see them around here. I've been to Bangor. I go to Rill a lot. You see kids hanging around. They're not causing any real trouble. They're just doing what they do. And because somebody makes a complaint, suddenly, there we have it. Lockdown, curfews, CCTV cameras everywhere, which we see anyway. That's all part and parcel of it all anyway. And we have this situation which sees, our kids, not allowed, 9 p.m. If you're under 16, I remember being that age, 15, 16, you know, you're going to be out with your friends, etc. You want to do things, and you know, you do hang out sometimes. You're not causing any trouble. This is what people do. It's what society is. It's what happens. You know, I mean, what is going on? You know, we're allowed to do what we want to do. If we're not causing any trouble, harm, or loss, or creating a disturbance, etc., then we're fine. But people don't want people, you know, doing what they want to do. This is another, you know, they want towns and cities literally locked down in the evening where, you know, not allowed out. And if people accept this and it goes through, you know, it says here for 6 months they're going to see what happens. So it's obviously through the summer. You know, they want to, you know, they don't want kids out in the summer nights, etc. It's just another example of how far we've come into accepting just anything. The council does it, and nobody, you know, if people don't like it, tough. It goes through anyway. It doesn't matter what you think or I think. You know, they've decided. A couple of people have complained, so we're going to put this, you know, we're going to do this now. We're going to, you know, as we see throughout lots of things, you know, a couple of people, a minority will create, you know, the majority to, you know, literally take another freedom away from you. Something else they can take away. You know, walking around the streets at 15. I mean, you know, if you're out and about, that's your business, whatever. But to put a curfew there, it does sound something like out of a, you know, a dictatorship. But people have to realise this. That's what we live in. It's just disguised as democracy. It's a little disguise that's just to make you feel good, makes you feel like you've got some power, makes you feel like you're free. Because you see all those people over there getting, you know, shit on, so you're okay. Oh, and we don't go out between 9 and 6, that's okay, we can handle that. But believe you me, you know, by accepting things like this, and by accepting other draconian laws that they've brought in, which, you know, basically is, you know, list as long as me arm, you know, we are giving away to a dictatorial, you know, regime. We are in a fascist state. You know, we have no say. Our policemen and our authorities, our government, our leaders, they know what's best for us, and they will tell you, and they won't even consider your opinion. They'll just say, this is what we're doing. Some people have complained, so this is what we're going to do. So it's all a very slow move towards complete, you know, lockdown. And these little things that they do here, even if they're for 6 months, you know, these are just little things that will get bigger and bigger. And they're demonising our young people in such a way. Is it any wonder, you know, we saw the likes of the riots we saw last year when they treat our young people with so much, you know, with no trust, nothing. Yeah, there's a few bad apples. Yeah, there's bad apples everywhere. You know, adults. You know, there's plenty of adults that are running around crazy. Most of them are running the government. You know, but we can't put them under curfew, can we? You know, we can't put David Cameron, you know, in a little box and lock him up, and these little cohorts, his multi-millionaire cabinet. You know, we can't do anything about these guys. And we just sold this as a, you know, this is what we're going to do, and this is how you're going to, you know, this is what will happen to you if you don't do as you are told. Again, just another example. Another thing I saw as well was the benefits for striking low-paid workers are to be axed. So if you go on strike, low-paid workers who take strike action will no longer have their wages topped up by the state, ministers say. Workers on up to £13,000 a year can currently claim working tax credits, top up for their income even when they take part in industrial action. But from next year there will be no increase in benefits if a worker's income drops due to strike action. The TUC said it was mean-spirited move aimed at deterring workers from standing up for their rights. The change is part of the new universal credit, which is replacing the benefit system with a single payment. Mr. Duncan Smith, I don't like that guy, says the fact that the current benefit system compensates workers and tops up their income when they go on strike is unfair and creates perverse incentives. Perverse incentives? What the hell is he talking about? What's perverse about, going on strike or saying I'm underpaid and we want to sort of say, stand up for ourselves in this bullshit that we've all got to put up with? You can't even do that now. Because if you are, a low-paid worker, and believe you me, there's plenty of them around, because there's no well-paid jobs anymore. All our industry's gone. You're not going to get much work in retail, are you? Or, the service industry, etc. You basically got no hope at all now. So even if you wanted to go on strike, they're going to take you're going to lose everything. They're going to take your money off you from your benefits as well. It says here, striking is a choice, and in future, benefit claimants will have to pay the price for that choice. As under universal credit, we no longer will, said Mr. Duncan Smith. So, again, there's been lots of things. They're taking away anything that gives you the right to stand up and say no within this system. If you're still thinking in that way, then you're going to be pretty pissed off. Unfortunately for people who still think within that system, they don't see it any other way. They're looking at this story thinking, whoa. These are the people that, have to sort of get a bit more clued up and realise that the whole thing is all just a farce. The whole system of, this work, this top up, this credit, this keeping you, linked into them, part of the machine. You can't get away. People who are massively overdrawn are in the same boat. They can't get out of debt. They owe to the bank all of the time. They get paid. Their wages just disappear, and it just becomes an overdraft the first 2 days after they've been paid. And that's how people are living now. More and more people I meet, are amazed that that I don't go massively into my overdraft to try and keep it just so I've got my head above water and I'm okay. But you could easily go, oh bollocks to it, go to the bank, get £1,000, overdraft, and go £1,000 overdrawn every month, and you still have everything you need, and you'd probably be okay. But it's not the way to be. You're just playing right into their hands. You're giving them every reason to, control you and do whatever they like with you. And this is why we've got to sort of think differently. It's not about this current system. We know this current system doesn't work. So it's coming up with something that will benefit everybody, and without the need for all these draconian taxes and laws, etc., that are just keeping us locked down. If you think since, say, 2001, since 9/11, how many things have gone on in the UK and across Europe and America, of course, just think of all the things that have happened in the way in which we run our daily lives. CCTV cameras everywhere you go in the UK, pretty much. Everywhere you walk, you're being monitored. They monitor all of your emails. I mean, they're saying they're going to be doing this, soon, blah, 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 and they want permission to get into, your information, etc., or put you on a database, and that's going to happen. They're already doing that. They've been doing that for years. This is not new, As soon as you went online, as soon as you fired your computer up, somebody somewhere has been... It's monitored. It's they watch. It's always been in place. Would never have been. You wouldn't have been allowed to use this system of the internet or the telephone if somebody couldn't listen in or have a way of monitoring what was being said. All these paranoid national security freaks. This is what they use as the excuse. It's national security. We need to monitor and watch and make sure there's nothing going on, and we have trigger words that we can, if someone says a certain word like cloud or whatever it is, or that's it. And they've been doing this for a long, long time. They're very good at it. They're very sophisticated. Believe you me, their technology is something like 30 years ahead of what we've got right now. We're being drip fed little bits and bobs to make us happy. Oh, we've got Windows 7. Oh, we've got Windows 8. It's all bollocks. These guys have been, like I say, monitoring us and watching us, since the invention of these pieces of kit, and it's never been any different. So, the ones that they, what they're trying to do now is just trying to get us all into this way of accepting that that's okay, that is the way we should be. and we shouldn't question it because there's bad people out there. But we've seen with the internet censorship, we've seen with the Google nonsense and all these big corporations now who are basically just taking over everything. They've taken over YouTube. You know, we see social networking sites continually changing or being just heavily more corporatization within it, more watching, they change things, and the whole thing just basically is controlled by them. Or if it isn't, they'll find a way that they can. They'll buy you out for £10 billion. Oh, we'll buy that for 10 billion, and the people who've got the idea and have used it, yeah, they'll take it, and that's where we're at the moment. But yeah, so benefits for striking low-paid workers are going. So if you're thinking of going on strike in your low-paid job, well, you're going to lose some money from next year, according to this. But there's other things I want to talk about, and I'm running out of time. There was a fracking protest recently. This comes out of the Independent. Protesters have locked themselves to the gates of a drilling rig site in a demonstration against fracking. Now, this is up in Chesterfield. Up to 20 people are believed to be involved in the protest at, I think it's Quadrilla Resources drilling rig in Dainsmore, Chesterfield. It says 4 of the demonstrators, who are from anti-fracking group Frack Off, locked themselves into the site's gate in a bid to prevent the rig moving to its fracking site in Lancashire. Fracking is the controversial extraction of gas from shale rock, as we know. It says the police were called, etc. They're monitoring the situation. Demonstrator Elsie Walker, 27, said the scale of development proposed is being completely ignored. Quadrilla wants to drill 800 wells in Lancashire alone. They are one company going after one type of gas. There are several companies going after several types of unconventional gas in the UK, and all are potentially on a similar scale to Quadrilla. If this goes ahead, we will witness the total industrialisation of the British countryside and the destruction of the land and water on which we depend. We cannot allow this to happen. Yeah, so that's a little story that came out today. And again, very little attention. You mention fracking to people and they look at you as though you've sworn at them or something. But yeah, we know fracking does poison the water table. The chemicals that they pump in to break up this shale under very, very high pressure are nasty chemicals which will poison the water. And it's just going to ruin the countryside. We've seen it in Australia. I know out in Australia there's a big demonstration there. One of the biggest ones in the world, I think, are being built at the moment out there, and they've been protesting that for a couple of years. But it's amazing to think that not an awful lot of people realise that the damage that this fracking can do to the environment. And I think last year in Blackpool, when they were doing some sort of test drilling, there was an earthquake which was put down to the fracking. It was only a small earthquake, but enough. So the damage that this type of mining is doing, it's happening right now in the UK. It's happening. They're going to have, what was it I said, 27 wells or something they're going to have, and this is literally going to affect the local people, and these guys are just going ahead and doing it. Again, nobody aware. Where do I hear that on Question Time? Why aren't people coming out and speaking out about this in a big way? But the upside of it is it could create 50,000 jobs. You see, so they play games with people. They play games with your head. It's a bipolar society. Said it all the time. They're saying one thing and they're saying, oh, but we'll create 50,000 jobs for you and everyone will be happy. But you'll be probably drinking tainted water. And probably, health-wise, that isn't a good idea. And in the local area, as we see with a lot of things, you might not see something happen immediately, as in, the first few months of this fracking or whatever, but in a year, 18 months' time, it's too late then. They've already done the damage. It's there. And people will be again speaking out when it's too late. When it's far too late. But hopefully, this group of people, this very brave group of people who've gone up there up to 20, only 20 people. Shame it's not thousands, but it might get some sort of attention then from our mainstream whores. But at the moment, it's just a small piece in the Independent. So it's kind of sad to think that nobody's shouting too loud about this, and it's a very, very important issue, and it could potentially, like I say, ruin the entire planet, especially because they're doing it all over the planet, not just here, like I say, in Australia as well. Anyways, but some important news. I saw this story, not important, but I just thought it made me think, coming out of some oil website I sort of stumbled upon. It says BP has just released its annual statistical review of world energy, in which it claims that Venezuela now holds the largest proven oil reserves in the world, overtaking the original leader, Saudi Arabia. It says the South American nation's oil deposits were increased from last year's figure to an estimated 296.5 billion barrels, more than Saudi Arabia's 265 billion barrels. It says global reserves have been increased by 1.9% from last year's 1.62 trillion barrels to 1.65 trillion. It says Robert Wine, a spokesman from BP, explained that the reason for the revisions is that BP's review is published in June before most countries issue their annual reserve figures. It says last year's average oil price was also at record levels, which meant that lots of hard-to-reach oil deposits became commercially viable. North Sea Brent crude oil, a general benchmark for most of the world's oil, averaged $107 a barrel in 2011. It says oil reserves in Venezuela now account for about 17.9% of the world's oil, and Saudi holds 16.1%, whilst Canada a third with 10.6%. It says the Venezuelan president Hugo Chavez yesterday released plans that promise he will more than double the country's oil production capacity by 2019 if he's re-elected in October. It says all of the BP's estimates are calculated from a combination of official sources, OPEC data, etc., and third-party estimates. But what made me think was, Venezuela has the most oil, so I wonder how long it takes for something to happen in Venezuela. Makes you think, doesn't it? I mean, Chavez, what's his name? Forgot his name. Yeah, Hugo Chavez. He basically has been a leader for quite some time now, and I can't see that country being destabilised easily. But these guys have all sorts of, tactics that they use, etc. But that's a hell of a lot of oil they're sitting on, and came as quite a surprise to me that Venezuela is the largest, or has the largest oil reserves in the world. So first of all, I'd throw that one in as well. And right, it's just gone 9, so I'll quickly. I did want to. Should I mention this, or should I mention it for next week? I don't know. We'll see. And also I just wanted to mention the fact of the. Keep an eye on this trial, this PC. What's his face? Simon Harwood, who's up for trial today over the death of Ian Tomlinson during the G20 protests. That started today. And this was back in, if you remember, 2009, at the demonstrations in London, and the city of London, after he was hit with a baton, and it was caught on CCTV, and he subsequently died later. And it went on and on and on, this story, and dragged on for a bit. But now it's now in court, and the guy's been he's on trial, accused of killing Mr. Ian Tomlinson. So we'll see what happens there. But that was something that caught my eye just before I came on. But anyway, guys, it's nearly time to go. So thanks for listening. Been a bit of a sort of throw together show today. Like I say, I haven't had a lot of time. But join me next week, same time, 8 o'clock on flippingthepyramid.co.uk. And like I say, I'll be back next week, 8 o'clock. And I think there's some more shows coming up, if I'm not mistaken. I think we've got Cookie maybe doing a show soon. and come back for, if it's this week, shall I say it's this week, Cookie? Give me a yes if you're on this week. If not, then no problem. But come back next week, Monday, and don't forget Friday as well. We've got Red doing his DJ set between 9 and 11. Excellent tunes, conscious lyricists in action. You'll enjoy it very much if you tune in. And like I say, if Cookie's on Thursday, I'm sure, or Wednesday, Wednesday. So tune in Thursday for Cookie, Wednesday for Adonis. Like I say, come back, check the site, check the schedule, flippingthepyramid.co.uk, and thank you very much for listening. And I'll leave you with a nice tune that I haven't heard for years. I've been pulling out a load of oldies and stuff that I haven't heard for years. So hope you enjoy this, and I'll speak to you all next week. Thanks very much for listening. Keep awake, keep aware.
Flipping the Pyramid. www.flippingthepyramid.co.uk